First things first, my name has always been Sam. That's been the easiest part of this whole journey. I never had to change my name. Well, legally I went from Samantha to Samuel, but even as a kid I was always Sam or Sammy. Well, except my mom. Whoops, I got carried away there. You probably have no idea who I am or what I'm talking about. Well, you can probably tell already, I'm trans. I began transitioning when I was 18, right after I moved out of my parents' house. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a transgender guy, and this is my story. Some parents of transgender kids say that they always knew something was different. Then they pull out the childhood photos and you see picture after picture of a little boy in makeup and high heels, or a little girl in blue jeans covered in mud. Honestly, I think it's fine for a boy to like fancy dresses, or a girl to like mud and cars, and none of that makes you transgender at all. I might just be biased though, because I was never a real tomboy like in all of those stories. I still wore dresses and had long hair. Still, I was definitely too much of a tomboy for my incredibly feminine, elegant mother, who wanted a little frilly ballerina to show off. Ballet wasn't for me. Nope, I picked football, hockey, martial arts, and I was good too. This is probably the time to mention that I grew up in a pretty conservative town. It isn't like Bible Belt insanity here, but most people have a close-minded view of the world, even if they aren't insanely homophobic, transphobic, and racist. I guess it's the way things go with small towns. Most people here know each other. A lot of them grew up together, and they don't like change, even if it's for the better. Was I bullied for playing football? Absolutely not. Did I almost exclusively hang out with boys at school because I thought their games were more fun? I sure did. And did that fact bother my mother to the ends of the earth? You bet it did. I still don't know exactly what my mom's beef with my vague tomboyish behavior was. Sometimes I think it's because she already had 2 sons, my older brothers. So when she found out she was having a daughter, she pictured raising a little mini-me, a sweet, soft-spoken little girl. Now's the time to mention that I'm very loud and boisterous, always have been, even before I could talk. She could dress up in cute clothes who would always be clean and pretty and smelled nice. I guess if your expectations are that high, you will always be disappointed. When I hit puberty, I started to realize that I was definitely not like everyone else I knew. I actually thought I was asexual for a long time, because the idea of being a lesbian or even allowing myself to feel attraction to girls felt so alien and strange. I solved this problem temporarily by dating absolutely no one during high school, refusing to take a date to any event, and getting insanely defensive whenever the subject of boys, romance, or marriage, yeah, it was one of those small towns, came up. So yeah, I was thinking I was being pretty secretive, but really all I did was succeed at doing the exact opposite and letting everyone I know I was into girls. When senior year came and everyone was applying to colleges, I knew I wanted to go as far away as I could. Well, no, not as far away as I could. I did want to stay in the same country as my family. I only had 2 requirements. It had to be a big city, and it had to be liberal. I couldn't even admit to myself why I needed a liberal city. I just knew that's where I belonged. Right around that time, too, I started avoiding looking at myself in the mirror. I don't know if it was all the sports or what, but for some reason, I hit puberty late and had only just started gaining weight and getting curvy. I missed my angular, boyish body, and seeing my breasts and butt felt so wrong. I began dressing in baggier clothes so I didn't have to think about why I felt the way I did. So I moved to my new city in my old baggy clothes, ready to start a new chapter in my life. On the ride there, I had no idea why, but I started crying. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders as I watched my old life disappear into the distance. But at the same time, I was terrified, moving into the unknown all on my own. I had a single dorm on campus, a couple of suitcases, and no real friends. I mean, there were a couple of people from my hometown I hung out with sometimes, friends from school, but I knew we had no real connection. It was all just on the surface. Things started to turn around for me as soon as classes started. I planned on majoring in English literature, and the kids in my classes were about as different from the people in my small, conservative town as possible. Girls with tattoos, guys with dyed hair, and it seemed like everyone had piercings. I started to make friends quickly. I've always been pretty laid back and good at talking to people, and these were people I really wanted to talk to. Within weeks, I had my crew, complete with a group chat for memes and a hangout every weekend to watch movies and smoke. Now, I know some people don't believe in gaydar, but I do, because almost every single person in my new group of friends was gay, lesbian, or bi. I never had a moment where I came out to anyone, or even when I came out to myself. I just knew that I had always liked girls and had tried to suppress it, and now I didn't have to anymore. Even though I had this amazing core group of friends and was coming close to accepting my sexuality for what it was, my issues with body image were getting worse. I felt like I was an alien living on a foreign planet. The way I felt and the way I actually looked didn't match up at all. And every time I looked in the mirror, reality came crashing down on me with a thud. There was only so much I could do to avoid mirrors, avoid photos, and avoid real life. One Friday night, I drank way too much vodka and found myself in some frat house bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror while tears silently ran down my face. My friend Carly burst through the door looking for me, but stopped as soon as she saw me. "What's wrong, Sam?" she asked softly. She took me by the arm and led me outside. We sat down silently on a broken old couch in the garden. I couldn't even answer for a while, just howled and cried like a baby. I was scared. I had no idea how to explain how I felt. "I feel like I'm living a lie," I finally sobbed. "Sam, if this is about you not being straight, believe me, we've all figured it out by now." I felt this flood of relief wash over me. My friends accepted me, no matter what. In stuttering, broken sentences, I tried to explain how I missed my old, boyish body, how I felt like I was living in a shell that was nothing like me at all, how I didn't have an eating disorder, but I still thought about starving myself so I wouldn't have breasts anymore. Then, I started to admit things that I'd never even admitted to myself until now. Like how people calling me a girl made my skin crawl. I wanted a girlfriend, I explained, but I never wanted to be a girlfriend. "Sam," Carly said, "would you want to be a boyfriend? Would it make a difference if people called you a boy?" Yes, it would make a difference. Just hearing her say it made me break down even more. I was just crying and nodding. Yes, yes, yes. The next day, once my hangover had faded enough for me to be functional, Carly dragged me to the student health center and helped me make an appointment to see a counselor. She told me they had queer support specifically, so I could talk to someone who understood where I was coming from and didn't think I was a lunatic. And I did. It was the hardest thing I think I've ever done, saying those words sober. I think I am transgender. I think I'm a boy. It was hard the second time with the doctor, and even harder the third time when I gathered my friends together and told them I had something to tell them. But over time, it started to get easier the more I said it. I haven't started testosterone therapy or had surgery or anything like that. I'm not sure how I feel about that stuff yet. And besides, you have to go through a lot of counseling and doctor's appointments, and all before they'll prescribe the drugs you need to start a physical transition. I think, though, that right now, testosterone looks like a good choice for me, and I'm looking forward to the day when I'm given that option. I went shopping and I found a binder I could wear to make my breasts less obvious. And after a lot of hesitation, I went shopping in a men's clothing store and found men's clothes that fit me properly instead of baggy clothes that hid my whole body. I kept my long hair. I guess you could say I wear it in a man bun mostly. But you know what? I like my long hair, and I'm not going to change it. The hardest part, the real hardest part, came during our first semester break when I went home. I thought about just avoiding the whole conversation forever, but I knew that wasn't right. Carly offered to come with me for support, and I really thought hard about accepting her offer. But I knew I had to tell my parents alone. Besides, I was thinking about asking her to be my girlfriend, and coming out to my family wasn't exactly a romantic occasion. Everyone was home, so Mom, Dad, and my 2 older brothers were all there for dinner. I could tell they all knew something was up, and they definitely noticed that I was dressing differently. I waited until dinner was over, and then I stood up. "I have something to tell you," I began, my voice shaking. "I know you might have noticed I've been changing for a while, but at school, I realized why I've had these feelings I've been dealing with all my life. I am transgender, and I am starting the transition to my life as a man." The room erupted. Both of my brothers launched across the table to hug me, bless their souls. Mom, on the other hand, burst into tears. I'm still working on winning her over. I mean, I do sort of understand. It's like mourning the loss of a daughter. But Dad says that she loves me no matter what. She's just going to take time to process things. Dad, on the other hand, said he'd always had a suspicion I was different. I'm not sure how true that is, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. My relationship with Mom is still strange. I feel like I broke her heart a little bit, which is unfair. But she's been texting me more, and Dad says she's starting to refer to me as her son. I haven't asked Carly to be my girlfriend yet, but I'm going to, and I think she might say yes. Throughout all of this, there's one thing I'll always be glad of. My name will always be Sam. Thank you for listening to my story. The more I tell it, the easier it gets, and it's still ongoing. My journey is just beginning, and I am so excited for my future. Please remember to be kind to your loved ones and try your hardest to accept people for who they are, even if you don't understand it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like mine.
Hey guys, it's Sarah here from My Crazy Stories. Thanks for watching this episode. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a new video. Oh, and if you haven't watched them yet, check out these other episodes that are trending right now. Thanks a lot and see you guys next time.